The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Country is doing better than it's ever done before economically.
In the end, the party would announce that 2 and 2 made 5, and you would have to believe it.
And I'll tell you, I have so many people that are so in favor, because we have to make our country truly great again. Remember, make America great again, and then in 2.5 years, it's called Keep America Great.
It was inevitable that they should make that claim sooner or later. The logic of their position demanded it. Not merely the validity of experience, but the very existence of external reality was tacitly denied by their philosophy. The heresy of heresies was common sense.
And just remember, what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening.
The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command.
I think most people agree that the most disturbing part of 1984 was how the party was able to convert rebels or revolutionaries and make them willingly and joyfully love Big Brother. As you listen to that clip of Donald Trump telling his audience to not believe what they hear or what they see, they willingly and gladly accept that command. And they do so with such fervor and enthusiasm that I believe George Orwell would be aghast. Donald Trump shows us that it does not require the highest level of intelligence, nor the calculations of someone who has made a strategy that spans over decades, sort of like Senator Palpatine, his takeover. It doesn't take someone with a level of intelligence or cold calculation or a strategy that takes decades to institute. All it takes is a person who's willing to say anything and do anything, and is doing so in an environment of such hyperpartisanship that people, for the sake of the party, are willing to ignore what they see and they hear. They reject objective reality. They reject the tangible evidence that they have observed with their own eyes and their own ears. Donald Trump's request is not shocking. It is just a culmination. It is him stretching his legs, saying that I have the ability to just straight out tell these people to not believe their eyes and ears, because those people have willingly done that over the last, 3 or 4 years. Hell, I mean, if you think about it, they've been doing it for quite some time. It is not a phenomenon that is relegated just to Republicans. But my God, have they ever ascended to the height of willingly? I mean, they do the work of propagandists. This is the masterwork of hyperpartisanship. There's no need for an actual ministry of propaganda or ministry of information, because the people do it themselves for the sake of the party, for the sake of winning, for the sake of being able to get on social media and say, I got you and I told you so. That type of infantile styled politics where no policy matters. Nothing of substance is important. All that matters is that their side wins. We were always at war with Eurasia. And because that is a mentality that is being reproduced, it is a virus, it's a contagion that's being reproduced in the minds of the people without the need of master propagandists. Donald Trump can just waltz his way onto the stage, on the international stage, and say that don't believe you could just declare what the people have already done. And it doesn't come off as a shock. It doesn't come off with any alarms. It doesn't even move the dial, politically speaking. It doesn't shake up the news cycle. It does nothing, because this is what the people have done to themselves. And again, this is not germane only to Republicans and conservatives in this country, but my God, have they not mastered this? Have they not elevated, or should I say, have they not devolved themselves into this group of people who blindly and actually with eyes wide open, they reject the tangible reality around them. They reject what they hear and what they see, because what they hear and what they see causes them physical pain. To have to admit that they are supporting an aspiring dictator, that if he could, he would dissolve the Senate. He would dissolve the House of Representatives. And he believes that he is entitled to rule this government on the basis of his ego alone. And because they don't ever want to come to terms with the reality that they have been supporting this type of madness slowly but surely. It did not begin with Donald Trump. This is the culmination of many years of hyperpartisan propaganda that has told them, without ever expressly saying it, to don't believe your eyes, don't believe your ears, believe what talk radio tells you. Believe what Sean Hannity tells you. Believe what Fox News tells you. Believe what anyone tells you, as so long as what you believe is consistent with what you want to believe. So long as that's the paradigm that we're operating under, that they are operating under, then of course nothing that Donald Trump said in that speech yesterday is shocking. And this is the most difficult part about what's happening around us. They are not being controlled by the party. They are being controlled by their sheer hatred of anyone who is not a part of their party. Anyone who doesn't believe like they believe. Anyone who doesn't have the same outlook as they have. That's what controls them. And that's why they are willing to accept anything Donald Trump says, anything that he does. They don't care what he does. All that they care about, the only thing they care about, is beating the libs. We've internalized this outward look that is used to manipulate an entire nation in 1984, right? This external fight against Eurasia that is the justification for everything that is done in 1984. This has become our domestic politics. We're at the exact opposite end of the spectrum of a singular party. We're at the opposite end of such a hyper-partisan divide between two parties. That one side, and to be sure, I won't draw a false equivalence. There will be none of that here. While we do have some ridiculous people on the Democratic side of the aisle, we do have some people who would do this same thing to themselves. The scale and the scope of it is something that we've not seen before. What the Republicans are doing to themselves. And as a result, what they're doing to the nation and to the world and to the environment, to society as a whole, is something that we've never seen.
His heart sank as he thought of the enormous power arrayed against him, the ease with which any party intellectual would overthrow him in debate, the subtle arguments which he would not be able to understand, much less answer. And yet he was in the right. They were wrong and he was right. The obvious, the silly, and the true had got to be defended. Truisms are true. Hold on to that. The solid world exists. Its laws do not change. Stones are hard, water is wet, objects unsupported fall toward the earth's center. With the feeling that he was speaking to O'Brien and also that he was setting forth an important axiom, he wrote, "Freedom is the freedom to say that 2 + 2 make 4. If that is granted, all else follows."
What George Orwell could not foresee was that there would come a time when no one would ever restrict you from believing that 2 + 2 = 4. In fact, we're living in a time where you have access to as much information as you can ever hope to consume. Objective information, objective science. And yet, George Orwell, what he believed was control from an external party controlling the minds of the individual people, he could not foresee that the individual people would in fact actually be in control of the party. And that they would themselves, in the sea of all of this information around them, all of the data around them, they would themselves reject knowledge. They would reject objective reality, all for the sake of owning the libs. Go to patreon.com to get the rest of today's show, where I cover Nina Turner's amazing segment on CNN, and I cover Meghan McCain's third grade level economic policy.